Good evening, everybody. I'm coming to you guys live from beautiful Baltimore Harbor. The sun is setting. That's cool. Let's get to it because it's 6:04. We only have 30 minutes to talk about how to double your money in 2023. 2023. Now, because I have my Q&A open, my chat's open, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask the questions. If you guys want to say something, use the chats, and then we'll try to get to all the questions and all of the comments that you guys have, and go from there. So let's talk about how to discover how to double your money in 6 months or less using a guarded secret, a guarded technique that is typically reserved for the wealthy. And this is not a title or a gimmick or anything like that, literally. If you guys are familiar, the US government has a branch, part of the US Treasury, called the Securities and Exchange Commission. Part of the Securities and Exchange Commission is to regulate markets, right? Regulate the markets. And in their hopes of regulating those markets, they create rules, guidelines to protect consumers. In their hopes of protecting those consumers, they inadvertently, I think, in my opinion, hurt the people that need the market the most. If I'm extremely wealthy, I can do without a market. But if I am living paycheck to paycheck, I think someone like me can use the market to my benefit more than anything. So there is this concept called accredited investor, where the Securities Exchange Commission and the IRS classify an accredited investor as someone that generates, as a single person, $200,000 every single year, or if they're married, $300,000, or has a net worth apart from their owner-occupied primary residence. They have a net worth of $1 million. So just a raise of hand inside of the chat. Who in this webinar falls in that category? Can you guys show me? Hey! So we do have some accredited investor in the room. That's awesome. Wow. Well, you guys are the exception because 61 or 62% of the US, that's about 170 to 180 million people, live paycheck to paycheck. What that means is if I work and I get paid today, before my next paycheck, my bank account is down to zero. That's incredible. That's more than half lives paycheck to paycheck. And an accredited investor, I think that boils down to 5% of the US population falls in that category. So, sorry. I'm in a skyscraper and it literally just shook. So literally 5% of the population of the US population falls in that category. So it's incredible. So what do these people have an advantage that the SEC prohibits from other people is their ability to invest in markets that are typically closed to non-accredited investors. They have access to invest in whether it's real estate or non-real estate, whether it's venture capital or whether it's crowdfundings and things of that nature, where their investments are unlimited, only limited to the capacity of their bank account, right? And that's a beautiful thing that's available to accredited investor that non-accredited investors do not have access to. Because an accredited investor has to verify, prove that they're an accredited investor. So how do you double your money in the next 6 months? Now, here we're not talking about doubling your actual earnings, but we're talking about doubling the amount of money that you are willing to invest inside of a project or a portfolio and things of that nature. So we're going to talk about that. And that's the reason why we're saying without risking, because the project that we're talking about are real estate related. When you invest in real estate projects, typically that money is tied to the project. Therefore, your name on the LLC is guaranteed by the entity of the project or the real estate through the deed. So without risking anything substantial, you can have, through the power of leverage, the ability to double whatever the investment vehicle that you're participating in. And that's what we're going to talk about. So is it harder or easier to create wealth in America today? Well, you can't save money to wealth, right? You can't save your money to wealth. Savings accounts, bonds, all of those things are single digits. If you're lucky, you might see 2 or 3%. Most of them are less. Inflation, man, I think last month we saw 5 or 6% inflation rate. Oil prices have gone up, even though they've come down a little bit. OPEC is trying to spike that by reducing their production. You can see all of the threat of war and things of that nature. Ukraine, Russia, Taiwan, China. US dollar has the index has spiked compared to all of the other currencies. Of course, now you have global warming, Florida impacted by it, California, things of that nature. So in spite of all of these, we see now opportunities coming up in the market where I think that we have the best opportunity to invest in real estate because prices are not correcting, interest rates are rising, inflation is still happening. And typically, I don't know if it's Warren Buffett that says this, typically when there's chaos on the street, that's the time to buy. When there's fear and anxiety, and when there's optimism and hopes and things of that nature, is the time to sell. So my name is Marouane Bah. I've been doing real estate for 25 years. I've been teaching real estate for 15. Up in Massachusetts, I own Boston Realty Institute, a real estate school that educate people, brokers, agents, and investors on how to invest real estate. I'm a husband and a dad and a U.S. Marine. I spent 8 years active duty in military and a great deal of background in education. I got an MBA from Georgetown School of Foreign Service. I got a professional certificate from MIT. And I've been teaching literally for 15, 20 years, doing real estate and teaching in real estate. So why real estate? Well, the reason why I got involved in real estate is because once I was in the military, I thought to myself, well, I don't know if I ever want to work for someone. So through my research, I found out that real estate tends to be the thing that most people, wealthy or poor, becomes wealthier by investing in it. It gives you the greatest opportunity to wealth and generational wealth. Even people that have become extremely wealthy through other means tend to park their money in real estate. It's vital to survival. Without it, us as humans can't exist. It has a historical hedging capability to inflation. So as inflation goes up, real estate goes up. If inflation tends to go down, real estate can adjust according to inflations. So as people generate income and they're concerned about inflation, a lot of people park their money in real estate. Now, the reason why I am more driven toward real estate compared to stock is because of its power to create residual income. Now, I understand that stocks also pays dividend, but you'll be lucky to find a stock that will pay you 10% of your money, or even 10%, even if it's leverage on like cash flow. The other beautiful thing about cash flow like real estate, but the other beautiful thing about real estate also is that unlike stocks, there's a lot of things that you can take advantage, even if the property is not cash flow positive, that can reduce your tax burden. So since we have a couple of people that are accredited investors here, as you are making more and more and more money, if you put your money, the ones that you don't need and are not using, when you put that residual income or capital into real estate, even the depreciation of the property reduces your tax burden to the IRS, which impact spiral your, like a snowball effect, spiral your wealth generation and your wealth position a lot more faster than if you were not putting that capital into real estate. So my experience is in single family, multifamily conversions, condos, conversions of rezoning and things of that nature. And therefore I specialize in those kinds of activities. It tends to be a lot easier when the people that I deal with invest in those kinds of things, because the entry barriers are lower, the risks are mitigated, everybody needs a place to live, and therefore it's much easier to understand compared to commercial. Now, that being said, it does not mean that commercial does not have its advantage. The great advantage of commercial tends to be longer leases, which tend to ride out, it tends to ride out economic depressions and things of that nature. So the ones that are able to invest in commercial are always much safer than other type of the real estate or even other type of investments in general. So as a person that's investing in real estate, you can invest in real estate investment trusts, REITs. You can do wholesaling options, basically flipping or changing the contracts from one person to the other without actually buying the property. You can buy the property, fix and flip it. You can do the traditional buy and hold. You can do the BRR, rent, rehab, and hold. There's a lot of strategy in real estate. So what stops most people, again, I talked about this, 61% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Most of them with bad credit, some that do have the credit and do have the income. Typically, life is busy, so they don't have the time to get involved in real estate. Others that do have the time, the credit, and are cash rich and not cash poor, typically lack the experience because they've sacrificed their time and experience accumulating that money by doing something else. So there are a lot of there are a lot of basic things that stops people from doing this thing. So the fastest way that investors, accredited or non-accredited investors, can grow their wealth is through syndication. Syndications tend to answer all of the obstacles that I just mentioned on the previous page. With the syndication, you're partnering up with a general partner. Typically, that's someone that has a great deal of experience in the real estate, because syndications are difficult to put together. There's Regulation D, Regulation CF, Regulation A, and those things are time consuming, a lot of capital, attorneys, accreditations, verifications, application to the Securities and Exchange Commission, vetting of the general partners and their experience, time in putting a private placement memorandum and things of that nature. So when you are partnering up with a syndicator, you're basically connecting your money, your capital, with someone that has the experience, someone that has the time dedicated, the professional in that industry. So syndication are a great way to build wealth. Here are the issues with syndication, though. Most syndication are typically long-term. 80–90% of syndications out there are typically investments of 5 years or more, 3 to 5 years. Most syndication are not liquid. So once you put your money it is incredibly difficult to get it out. Most syndication are geared toward accredited investors. Regulation CF is a syndication that drives and gears towards non-accredited, and you can find them like Realty Mogul or all these other companies, but those syndications are also long-term. So if you're interested in doing a syndication, you are tying yourself with a professional that does not want to play the bit riskier but quicker transaction, such as the fix and flip or the wholesalers, or they don't want to do the buy, rehab, and convert, or those kinds of things, because they're looking for cash flow that's stable and a cash flow that is consistent. If they're going to accumulate $5 million to put towards a real estate project, they will want to go and get a project or property that's worth $20 million or $30 million and tie that $5 million to that property and give equities plus cash flow or dividends or whatever you want to call it. But they tie that property for the next 5 years, hoping that that property goes up in value and hoping that the rent cash flow does not go down, so that they can pay dividends to their members and then flip the property, sell or refinance or some sort of exit strategy at year number 5 or year number 7 and pay their customers a return. Now you can see doubling your money in 5 years within the syndication, but most syndications do not try to double that income faster. So I just explained what a syndication is. So here's how ours are a little bit different. Because of my experience teaching and observing and consulting and doing all these things in syndication, we have just put our own out there, and ours is a little bit different. The first thing that's different about our syndication is that we have 2 of them, one for accredited investors and one for non-accredited investors. So we spent double the money, double the effort to create a Regulation D for the accredited investors. And those investments, minimum is $5,000 or higher. And then we spent the money to create a Regulation CF. Those investments can be as small as $100 to $1,000. And our syndications are driven or geared toward fix and flip or rehab or condo conversions at a leveraged. So let me give you guys an example. And I'm going to give an example and skip through some of these slides to save time, but so that you understand. We looked at a condo conversion, for instance, in Massachusetts, where we looked at buying a property. The amount of money we raised is $200,000. We took the $200,000, we went and we leveraged it to $1 million. We bought a building, and in acquiring the building, we fixed it up. And we turned it around and sold it into condominium in 3 different portions. The $100,000 or $200,000 that we were able to raise, because now we sold the building for $1.5 or $1.6 million by selling $500,000 each condo, we were able to double that $200,000. We took our profit, we paid our investors their money, but we were able to double their money in the span of 6 months, because it literally takes 6 months to do a condo conversion if the building is already existing. So what does it take to do a condo conversion? You buy the building, you do a master deed, a unit deed, you create bylaws that governs the rules and regulation of the association, you record the floor plans and the site plans, and then you have a condominium. Now, obviously, if you don't have an attractive condo, you'll have difficulty having people buy into the condo. So we rehab the building and make it attractive. So this is the project in Roxbury. One of our success story, we bought a building for $771,000. We raised capital for $150,000. We sold the building for $1.5. Each unit was sold for $550,000. Our syndicate received $300,000 for every $1 that they put in. They got 2. Another project in Dedham, we bought it for $850,000. Capital raise was $60,000. This position 1.1, this one 3 to 1. So the next project that we got going on is a project in Somerville, Massachusetts, where we're doing the same thing. So for that project, we're offering a 2 to 1 return in a 6 months period. Now, because we have all your name, we'll be able to send you some emails and show you some of these things. You can book a call and we can talk about it. But that's not the point of all of these. The point of all of this is that we can provide the kind of education that we use and our expertise and background to teach this kind of stuff to just about anyone who has the time and the ability to do that. So we're putting together a class where in a span of 26 weeks, we'll teach people how to do syndications, how to do fix and flip, how to do condo conversions, to use the tools and resources, the network, the partners, and be able to collaborate with all the other students that comes together to be able to do investment projects together and guidance and mentorship to those students. So some of the topics that we'll cover are, investing strategies, time planning, negotiations, understanding the market, active versus passive income. And all of the members will be able to partner with deals with us. If they have projects that they need partners in, we can partner with them. We can have opportunities where they can invest and double their money, just like we do. Let me see. And we'll talk about different cycles of real estate, different types of evaluations and things of that nature. Now, the class, the way we're going to be doing this is we're going to be doing a 6 months online / in-person. And what I mean by that is all of our classes will meet 1 day a week on an evening, and we'll spend 2 to 3 hours doing the class. After the end of the class, we'll have blogs, posts, white papers, article, newsletter, textbooks, and homework to provide to the students to give them guidance over the week. So we'll do a 2-hour session, we'll have homework, and then we'll have opportunities to mentor the deals on both ends. Then at the end of that, we'll have access to voice notes and we'll build teams. We'll have Discord where we can exchange. And for the ones that are in New England, they're welcome to come to our project and see what we're doing with our projects. The ones that are in Baltimore, certain time of the weeks, they're welcome to come to Baltimore to see some of our projects. Because we have projects right now that we're working on in Baltimore, but we also have projects that we're working on in Massachusetts. So if the student is close by, they're welcome to come and see and shadow us and see what we're doing. But if they're not, all of the things that we're doing, we'll record it and put it on, and we'll provide through Vimeo links to those videos. Let me see what else can I cover. So these are some of the topics that we're going to talk about. Obviously, we'll talk about syndication, finance. We'll talk about, the technologies, for example, draft for dollars, farming, the things that can go wrong in contract, the budgeting, and all of these things. We'll cover all of these things. So who is this kind of education for? So this kind of education is for the person that lacks the knowledge. They can join this within 3 to 6 months. They can be up and running doing their own real estate projects. If you have the experience, but you lack deals, partnering up with us in this environment in class, someone else can give you a deal, just like you can join someone else's deal. If you have the capital, you can do deals with us, you can do deals with other people. You'll also learn how we do some of the deals. You'll be able to do the underwriting, the Excel breakdown of all of these to figure out what is profitable. You'll know what we look for to make sure that your capital is protected and safe versus just jumping into buying things. And I think this is incredibly important, particularly in this time, because everyone is concerned about a recession. So is this the moment where you want to buy a property and the market has crashed by 30, 40% from its high? Crypto has crashed more than 60%, 65% from its high. Everyone is waiting for real estate to do the same thing. So what does that mean for you, the student, or for you, the potential investor, for you, the potential buyer? Does that mean that the same thing's happening? If it's happening, is it a bad thing or is it a good thing? If it's not happening, how do you navigate that? Those are the kinds of things that we'll talk through. But it's also incredibly important for you to like, for me to differentiate this from the traditional YouTube kind of things that you see. Because just last week, I think a week ago, my wife sent me a video about a lady that was talking about how to make $1,000 using real estate to build your down payment. And the lady was talking about call a real estate agent, ask her to advertise for her on YouTube and all these social media. And if you get her a tenant, she'll give you $1,000. I was looking at this, I'm like, that is so illegal. If you get caught and you had hopes of getting a real estate license, forget about it. You'll never get a real estate license again. And you get fined for doing it. The point of people having license and the point of having authorities like governments to issue license is to prohibit things like this. So if you don't know these kinds of things, you could do things in real estate and get into trouble. But anyway, so it's incredibly important. And I mean, the average real estate property is 400 grand. Making a mistake on a $400,000 project, it's just not, yeah. I don't know how to like describe it, but it's not fun, right? It's not fun. So here's the things that we're going to be doing. So there's going to be weekly Zoom calls, Discord, voice memo, educational material, investment community to collaborate. You'll have access to our CPA, you'll have access to our real estate attorneys. You know, we'll provide you with the private placement memorandum sample in case you're trying to raise capital. We'll tell you how to do it because some people invest in real estate, but they don't have the money. We'll teach you how to like raise capital and raise it legally, right? All of the coaching are not outsourced. So you'll have one-on-one sessions with me to guide you through your project if you have one. You know, you have access to 1,000 topics and subjects. We'll guide you how to look for those things, how to research. You know, it's going to be an online environment where you'll get support, you know, evaluations, recordings of the video. So if you can't make it to a particular thing, we'll send you the recordings and things of that nature. So how much is this? Well, the regular price of these kinds of courses is about $2,500. But obviously, we're going to be giving away a big discount. So for the next couple of weeks, I don't know, my team put the deadline to get, I think it's for the next week or so. You can log into this and then see and take advantage of a discount. So how do you double your money? Well, doubling your money, you can do it with me. I guess that's the easiest and simplest way to do it. You can book on my calendar and we can have a conversation. You don't have to be a student, for example, to join one of our syndication. But being part of that syndication gives you access to some of the tools that we have and some of the things that we're doing. So let me just answer one quick question. So we have a participant that's from Texas. This course is an online course. It is an online course, so it's a webinar online. We are going to be doing this, but the people that are going to be part of this group or class, we are also going to be doing a weekend or weekday retreat. So part of our group of students that we're going to be teaching, we're going to be able to offer sometime perhaps in the fall or sometime in the spring, weekend retreats where through the whole entire process that we covered over the 6 months with the students, we'll have a session where students can fly out to New England or Mid-Atlantic, Massachusetts, or the DC, Maryland, Virginia, and spend the week or the weekend with us. And if they're flying out, the way that I was going to do this is have, for a specific fee, have the student spend the night, eat, and go to class all in our property. So we'll cover all of these things with the student. But this class is an online class that is going to be on a webinar for the next 6 months. And then we're going to cover everything. We're going to give them the video, and we're going to give them all of the education and things of that nature for the entire 6 months. And also the students will have opportunity to invest with us. So here's a scenario, for example, and how someone can look at this and have a free class. I had this conversation with my team, and my team said, well, essentially someone could take $2,000, pay $1,000 for the class, and take $1,000 and put it into one of your deals. In the 6 months time frame, when your project is done, you're giving them $2,000 back because you're doubling their money in 6 months. That means that they're essentially taking the class with you for free because they invested $1,000 in one of your projects. They learned what you did for free, and they got their investment back if they chose to invest in the regulation CF. So cool little idea that someone came up with. Yes, okay. Let me see, what else can I talk about? So, okay, Jerome, yes, I will do that. Let me. Are you in New England? Okay, well, either way, we are going to be sending this. We're going to be sending this, New York. We're going to be sending this video to everyone that registered, everyone that participated, so you guys can see the link. You guys can book a 15-minute Zoom call with me if you have any questions. We can talk about the private placement memorandum of W investments together. We can talk about the webinar and class that we have for the investors. Let me see. Does anyone have any other questions? I know I went a couple of minutes over the time, but I promised that I was going to try to do this in about 30 minutes or so. So does anyone have any questions before we go? Do you have someone who speaks Spanish? Yes, we do. We do have Spanish speaker in the class, I mean, in our team, and we can assist with providing translation. So yes, and also a lot of our class are going to be transcribed, and once it's transcribed, it can be translated. Obviously, the translation might be a loose translation on Google, but we do have someone that speaks Spanish in the team. He's actually in the meeting now, so if Hector wants to say hi, you can do that. The website for registering for the class is bostonrealtyinstitute.com. I think it's /investors course, or you can go to bostonrealtyinstitute.com and then click on the investor program, and you can sign up for that class. I think, again, it's $1,200 and some change, and it covers 6 months of education. It covers the whole entire 6 months and everything else. There's nothing extra to pay. And then in that, you'll have access to do the retreat with us in the spring. And you'll also have opportunity to invest on our deals. And the first deal that we have is the project in Massachusetts, where we're going to do double your investment in 6 months. But obviously, because we do this continuously, because you're a student, you'll have access to invest in all of the other investment that we have during that time period. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. See you guys later. Thank you.